The Breath and the Promise, From Eden to Egypt, Part 1, The Song of Creation. Before time began its relentless march, before light pierced the void, before the wind whispered or the earth turned, there was only the infinite. God, eternal and complete, existed in a silence so profound it contained all potential. There was nowhere, only Him. Then He spoke, "Let there be light." The words were not merely sound, they were power. From nothingness, a brilliance exploded, shattering the ancient darkness like a silent thunderclap. The void bowed in reverence, and creation began its first breath. The Spirit of God hovered over the primordial waters, a vast and chaotic deep, and His voice began to shape the universe. He separated the light from the darkness, naming the light day and the darkness night. He crafted a firmament, a vast expanse to separate the waters below from the waters above, creating the heavens. He gathered the seas together, commanding them to respect their boundaries, and dry land emerged, a canvas waiting for color, and color came. By His word, the earth burst into life, mountains rose like titans, valleys dipped in humility, and rivers carved their paths like veins of silver. The ground flourished, the olive tree twisted its roots deep. The date palm stretched high, the mighty cedar of Lebanon stood guard. Fields filled with the gold of wheat and barley, the purple of grapes, the red of pomegranates. Grass carpeted the earth in emerald, and flowers bloomed in riots of unimaginable hues. Then God turned His gaze upward. He embroidered the heavens with lights, the sun, a blazing king to rule the day, the moon, a gentle queen to guard the night, and the stars, billions of diamond dust scattered across the velvet dark. He named each one, and not a single star was left out of place. He turned back to the waters and the sky. He spoke, and the seas teemed with life, the leviathan moving in the deep, the whales singing their mournful songs, the countless schools of fish flashing like living coins, the air filled with the beat of wings, the eagle soaring, the nightingale singing, the dove cooing. Then came the creatures of the earth, the lion with its golden mane, the lamb with its gentle fleece, the ox, the wolf, the fox, the horse running with the wind. God saw it all, and it was good. But the masterpiece was yet to come. He knelt in the dust of the new world. With His own hands, He gathered the clay, He shaped bones, molded muscles, smoothed skin. He formed a face, a chest, hands with fingers capable of creating and holding. But the form lay still, a beautiful statue of earth. Then the Creator bent down, His face close to the face of clay, and breath into His nostrils, the breath of life. The chest heaved, the eyes opened. Adam saw light for the first time. He heard the birds singing, the rush of the river. He smelled the scent of blooming jasmine. He felt the warmth of the sun and the embrace of the blue sky. He looked into the eyes of his Creator and knew he was loved. God planted a garden in Eden, a paradise of abundance. He gave Adam dominion over it all. He brought the animals to Adam, and Adam named them. "You will be a lion," He said to the beast with the golden mane. "You will be a deer, you butterfly, and you dog will be my friend." But amidst the beauty, Adam felt a hollow ache. He watched the lion with the lioness, the dove with its mate. He was alone. So God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. He took a rib from his side and closed up the flesh. From that bone, He fashioned a woman. When Adam awoke, he saw her. She was not a beast of the field or a bird of the air. She was like him, yet different, soft where he was hard, graceful where he was rugged. "This is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh," Adam whispered in wonder. "She shall be called woman, for she was taken from man." They lived in unity, naked and unashamed, walking with God in the cool of the day. But in the center of the garden stood two trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. "You may eat of every tree," God commanded, "but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat of it, You shall surely die. Part 2, The Shadow Fall. Peace reigned, but a shadow watched from the leaves. The serpent, ancient and cunning, slithered to the woman. Did God really say, "You must not eat from any tree in the garden"? He hissed. Eve replied, "We may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God did say, 'You must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die.' You will not surely die," the serpent whispered, his voice smooth as oil. "For God knows that when you eat of it your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Eve looked at the fruit. It was beautiful, it looked delicious, it promised wisdom. The desire grew until it eclipsed the command. She reached out, she plucked it, she ate. She handed it to Adam, who stood beside her. He ate. In an instant, the light within them shattered, the glory that clothed them vanished. They looked at each other and saw only nakedness. Shame, cold and biting, flooded their hearts. They sewed fig leaves together to cover themselves and hid in the shadows of the trees. "Adam, where are you?" God's voice echoed in the garden, no longer just a friend's call, but a searching question. "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid," Adam confessed. "Who told you that you were naked?" God asked. "Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" The blame game began. "The woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it," Adam said. "The serpent deceived me, and I ate," Eve said. Silence fell. Sin had severed the bond. Death was no longer a threat. It was a reality. God pronounced judgment. The serpent was cursed to crawl on its belly. The woman would have pain in childbearing and strife in her marriage. The man would toil among thorns and thistles, sweating for his bread until he returned to the dust from which he came. But before he banished them, God did the unthinkable. He took an animal, an innocent creature, and killed it. He took the skins and clothed Adam and Eve, covering their shame with the cost of a life. It was the first sacrifice, the first foreshadowing. And he gave a promise to the serpent, "And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." A savior was coming. Hope was sown in the soil of despair. Adam and Eve were expelled from Eden. The cherubim with the flaming sword guarded the way to the tree of life. They walked out into a harsh world, carrying the memory of paradise and the weight of their choice. Part 3, The First Blood. Outside Eden, life was hard, but it continued. Eve conceived and bore a son. "I have gotten a man with the help of the Lord," she said, naming him Cain. Later, she bore Abel. The brothers grew up in a world marked by the fall. Cain became a tiller of the ground, wresting crops from the stubborn earth. Abel became a shepherd, tending flocks on the hills. The time came for an offering. Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil, the work of his hands. Abel brought the firstborn of his flock, fat portions, a blood sacrifice offered in faith. God looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not. Cain's face fell. Jealousy, dark and hot, boiled within him. "Why are you angry?" God asked him gently. "If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." Cain did not listen. The warning fell on a hardened heart. "Let's go out to the field," Cain said to Abel. Abel followed, unsuspecting. In the silence of the field, under the vast sky, brother turned against brother. Cain struck him down. Abel's blood soaked into the thirsty earth. The first murder, the first grief. "Cain, where is your brother Abel?" God asked. "I don't know," Cain lied. "Am I my brother's keeper? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground," God declared. "Now you are under a curse. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth. Cain left the Lord's presence. Settling in the land of Nod, east of Eden, he built a city, trying to find security in walls rather than God. Back in the tents of Adam, grief reigned, but God gave Eve another son. God has granted me another child in place of Abel, she said, naming him Seth. From Seth's line came Enosh, and men began to call on the name of the Lord. Generations passed. The earth filled with people, but the shadow of sin grew longer. Violence spread like a plague, yet, amidst the darkness, one star shone bright. Enoch did not just live. He walked with God in a world of noise. He listened to the Creator. He was distinct, holy. He walked so closely with God that one day, he simply wasn't there anymore. He didn't die, God took him. Part 4. The Waters of Judgment. Time marched on. The sons of God saw the daughters of men and took them as wives. The Nephilim, warriors of old, walked the earth. Wickedness compounded until every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. God looked at his creation, marred and bloody, and his heart filled with pain. I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, he said. For I regret that I have made them. But there was Noah. Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. He was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. Noah, God said, I am going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. So make yourself an ark of cypress wood. The instructions were specific: 3 decks, rooms inside, coated with pitch. It was a massive vessel, a box to float on a world of water. I am going to bring floodwaters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens, God warned. But I will establish my covenant with you. For years, Noah built. The sound of his hammer rang out a rhythmic warning to a world that wouldn't listen. They mocked him, rain of flood. Madness, but Noah kept building. Then the animals came. Drawn by an unseen hand, they marched to the ark to buy 2, male and female. Noah and his family, his wife, his 3 sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives entered. And God shut the door. The first drop fell. Then another. Then the skies tore open. The springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened. It wasn't just rain. It was a collapsing of the order of creation. The waters rose, swallowing valleys, climbing hills, covering mountains. Inside the ark, it was dark and noisy with the sounds of animals and the drumming of rain. Outside, silence swallowed the screams. For 40 days and 40 nights, the judgment fell finally. The rain stopped. The ark drifted on a shoreless ocean. God remembered Noah. He sent a wind, slowly. The waters receded. The ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Noah waited. He sent out a raven, then a dove. When the dove returned with a freshly plucked olive leaf, Noah knew hope was alive. Come out of the ark, God commanded. They stepped onto a muddy, silent world. Noah built an altar and offered a sacrifice. The scent pleased the Lord. Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, God promised. He painted a bow of colors across the sky, the rainbow. This is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. Part 5. The Tower and the Call. Life began again. Noah planted a vineyard. But the shadow of sin had survived the flood in the hearts of men. Noah became drunk and lay naked in his tent. Ham saw his father's shame and told his brothers. Shem and Japheth, with respect, walked backward and covered their father. When Noah awoke, he cursed Canaan, the son of Ham, and blessed Shem and Japheth. The families grew and spread. But as they migrated eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth. It was rebellion dressed as architecture. They wanted unity without God, greatness without submission. The Lord came down to see if as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language. Suddenly, the orders shouted by the bricklayers made no sense to the mortar mixers. Confusion reigned, work stopped. The people scattered across the earth, grouped by their new languages. The city was called Babel. From the scattered nations, God zoomed in on one man. He lived in Ur of the Chaldeans, a place of idols. His name was Abram. Go from your country, your people and your father's household to the land I will show you. God said, I will make you a great nation, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. Abram went, as the Lord had told him. He took his wife Sarai and his nephew Lot. He didn't know where he was going, only who he was following. They arrived in Canaan. God appeared to Abram and said, to your offspring I will give this land. But there was a problem. Sarai was barren. Years passed. The promise seemed impossible. Sarai, desperate and pragmatic, offered a solution. The Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my slave, Hagar. Perhaps I can build a family through her. Abram agreed. Hagar conceived. But pride grew in Hagar's heart, and jealousy in Sarai's. Hagar fled the harsh treatment of her mistress into the desert. An angel found her by a spring. Go back, he said. You are now with child and you will have a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. Ishmael was born. Abram was 86. 13 years later, God appeared again. I am God Almighty. Walk before me faithfully and be blameless. He changed Abram's name to Abraham, father of many nations. He changed Sarai's name to Sarah. I will bless her and will surely give you a son by her. God promised. Abraham fell face down. He laughed. Will a son be born to a man 100 years old? Yes, God said. Your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. Part 6. The test of faith. The visitors came in the heat of the day. 3 men standing near Abraham's tent by the great trees of Mamre. Abraham rushed to serve them. As they ate, the Lord renewed the promise. I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah your wife will have a son. Sarah, listening inside the tent, laughed to herself. Why did Sarah laugh? The Lord asked. Is anything too hard for the Lord? The men turned toward Sodom. Abraham walked with them. The Lord revealed his plan. The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah was so great, their sign so grievous. He was going down to see if they had done exactly as the outcry suggested. Abraham knew Lot was in Sodom. He stood before the Lord and pleaded, will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous people in the city? If I find 50, I will spare the whole place for their sake. What if there are 40, 30, 10? For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it. The angels went to Sodom, but they found no righteousness, only depravity. They rescued Lot, his wife, and his 2 daughters, urging them to flee to the mountains and not look back. Fire and sulfur rained down. The cities were incinerated. But Lot's wife looked back, her heart still tethered to the city. She became a pillar of salt. In his cave refuge, Lot's legacy twisted into darkness as his daughters, fearing the end of their line, intoxicated him and bore his children Moab and Ben-Ammi, fathers of the Moabites and Ammonites. But in the tents of Abraham, joy erupted. Sarah became pregnant. Isaac was born. God has brought me laughter, Sarah said. However, the laughter in the camp was fractured. At the feast weaning Isaac, Ishmael mocked his half-brother. Sarah demanded Hagar and Ishmael be cast out. Abraham was distressed, but God told him to listen to Sarah. It is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. Hagar and Ishmael were sent into the desert with bread and a skin of water. When the water ran out, Hagar put the boy under a bush and sat away sobbing. "What is the matter, Hagar?" God called from heaven. "Do not be afraid. Lift the boy up, for I will make him into a great nation." God opened her eyes, and she saw a well. Ishmael lived and grew strong in the desert. Then came the unimaginable test. "Abraham, here I am. Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering." Abraham didn't argue. He saddled his donkey. He took the wood and the fire. He took his son. On the mountain, Isaac asked, "The fire and wood are here, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son," Abraham answered. He built the altar. He bound Isaac. He laid him on the wood. He raised the knife. "Abraham, Abraham, here I am. Do not lay a hand on the boy," the angel of the Lord said. "Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." Abraham looked up. A ram was caught in a thicket by its horns. He offered the ram in place of his son. He named the place Jehovah-Jireh, the Lord will provide. Part 7. The Stolen Blessing. Sarah died and was buried in the cave of Machpelah. Abraham sent his servant to his homeland to find a wife for Isaac, refusing to let him marry a Canaanite. The servant prayed for a sign, and Rebekah appeared at the well, offering water to him and his camels. She was the granddaughter of Abraham's brother. She agreed to go. Isaac loved her, but like Sarah, Rebekah was barren. Isaac prayed, and the Lord answered. She became pregnant with twins who jostled within her. "Two nations are in your womb," the Lord told her. "The older will serve the younger." The first came out red and hairy, Esau. The second came out grasping Esau's heel, Jacob. Esau grew into a hunter, Isaac's favorite. Jacob was a quiet man, staying among the tents, Rebekah's favorite. One day, Esau returned from the hunt, famished. Jacob was cooking stew. "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished," Esau demanded. "First sell me your birthright," Jacob countered. "I am about to die," Esau said. "What good is the birthright to me?" He swore an oath and sold his rights for a bowl of lentils. Years later, Isaac, old and blind, called Esau, "Prepare me the kind of tasty food I like, so that I may give you my blessing before I die." Rebekah overheard. While Esau hunted, she cooked goat meat and dressed Jacob in Esau's clothes, covering his hands with goatskins to mimic Esau's hairiness. Jacob went to his father. "I am Esau, your firstborn," he lied. Isaac was suspicious of the voice, but convinced by the smell and the touch. He ate and blessed Jacob. "May God give you heaven's dew and earth's richness. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you." Jacob left just as Esau arrived. The deception was revealed. Isaac trembled violently. Esau cried out a loud and bitter cry, "Bless me too, my father," but the blessing could not be revoked. "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing," Isaac said. Esau harbored a grudge. "The days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." Rebekah warned Jacob, "Flee to my brother Laban in Haran." Jacob left, an exile with a stolen blessing. On the way, he stopped for the night at Luz, using a stone for a pillow. He dreamed of a stairway resting on the earth, with its top reaching to heaven, and the angels of God ascending and descending on it. The Lord stood above it. "I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go." Jacob awoke. "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it." He named the place Bethel, House of God. Part 8. The Deceiver Deceived. Jacob arrived in Haran and met Rachel at a well. He loved her instantly. He agreed to work 7 years for Laban to marry her, but Laban was a trickster too. On the wedding night, Under the veil of darkness, Laban substituted Leah, the older, plain-eyed sister. "Why have you deceived me?" Jacob demanded in the morning. "It is not our custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older one." Laban replied smoothly, "Finish this daughter's bridal week. Then we will give you the younger one also, in return for another 7 years of work." Jacob agreed. He married Rachel too, but he loved her more than Leah. God saw that Leah was unloved, and he opened her womb. She bore Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Rachel remained barren and jealous. The sisters engaged in a war of wombs, giving their maids Bilhah and Zilpah to Jacob. Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher were born. Leah bore Issachar, Zebulun, and a daughter, Dinah. Finally, God remembered Rachel. She gave birth to Joseph. "God has taken away my disgrace," she said. Jacob prospered, his flocks increasing despite Laban's attempts to cheat him. God told him, "Go back to the land of your fathers." Jacob fled with his wives and children. Laban pursued, but was warned by God in a dream not to harm him. They made a covenant of peace and parted ways, but a greater fear loomed: Esau. Jacob sent messengers ahead. They returned with terrifying news: "Esau is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him." Jacob was terrified. He split his camp. He prayed. He sent waves of gifts ahead to appease his brother. That night, alone at the stream of Jabbok, a man wrestled with him until daybreak. It was no ordinary man. Jacob refused to let go. "I will not let you go unless you bless me." The man touched Jacob's hip, wrenching it. "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." Jacob named the place Peniel, face of God. He limped away as the sun rose, a changed man. When Esau approached, Jacob bowed 7 times. But Esau ran to meet him, embraced him, and kissed him. They wept. The reconciliation was a miracle of grace. They settled in the land. Rachel died giving birth to Benjamin, the son of the right hand. Israel had 12 sons. Part 9. The Dreamer in the Pit. Joseph, 17 years old, was the favorite. Israel made him a robe of many colors, a coat of distinction. His brothers hated him. Joseph dreamed, "We were binding sheaves. My sheaf stood up, and your sheaves gathered around it and bowed down. Do you intend to reign over us?" His brothers sneered. Another dream: the sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. Even his father rebuked him, but kept the matter in mind. Israel sent Joseph to check on his brothers near Dothan. They saw him coming, the coat flashing in the sun. "Here comes that dreamer," they said. "Let's kill him and see what comes of his dreams." Reuben tried to save him. "Don't shed any blood. Throw him into this cistern." They stripped him of his robe and threw him into the dry pit. As they ate, a caravan of Ishmaelites appeared. "What will we gain if we kill our brother?" Judah asked. "Let's sell him." They sold Joseph for 20 shekels of silver. They took the robe, dipped it in goat's blood, and took it to their father. "It is my son's robe." Jacob wailed, "Some ferocious animal has devoured him." He mourned for days, refusing to be comforted. In Egypt, Joseph was sold to Potiphar, captain of the guard. The Lord was with Joseph. He prospered and was put in charge of Potiphar's household. But Potiphar's wife had eyes for him. "Come to bed with me." How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God? Joseph refused time and again. One day, she grabbed his cloak. He ran, leaving the cloak in her hand. She screamed rape. Potiphar, furious, threw Joseph in prison. But the Lord was with him there too. He found favor with the warden. He interpreted the dreams of Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker. The cupbearer would be restored, the baker executed. "Remember me," Joseph told the cupbearer, but the cupbearer forgot. 2 years later, Pharaoh dreamed of 7 fat cows eaten by 7 gaunt cows, and 7 full heads of grain swallowed by 7 thin ones. None could interpret it. The cupbearer remembered Joseph. Joseph was brought from the dungeon. "I cannot do it," Joseph said, "but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt, but 7 years of famine will follow them," Joseph explained. Pharaoh was astounded. "Can we find anyone like this man, one in whom is the Spirit of God?" He made Joseph second in command. He gave him his signet ring and put a gold chain around his neck. Joseph was 30 years old. Part 10. The Reunion. The famine struck. It was severe in all lands. Jacob heard there was grain in Egypt. He sent 10 sons, keeping Benjamin behind. They stood before Joseph, the governor, and bowed down. Joseph recognized them. They did not recognize him. "You are spies," he accused harshly to test them. "We are honest men," they protested. "We are 12 brothers. One is no more, and the youngest is with our father." Joseph put them in prison for 3 days. Then he released them, keeping Simeon as a hostage. "Bring your youngest brother to me." He filled their sacks with grain and secretly returned their silver. When they found the money, their hearts sank. Back in Canaan, Jacob refused to let Benjamin go. "My son will not go down with you." But the grain ran out. The famine bit hard. Judah stepped forward. "I guarantee his safety, if I do not bring him back to you. Let the guilt be on me forever." They returned to Egypt with Benjamin. Joseph saw his brother and had to leave the room to weep. He feasted them, giving Benjamin 5 times as much as the others. Then, the final test, he ordered his silver cup hidden in Benjamin's sack. As they left, he sent his steward to arrest them. The cup was found. The brothers tore their clothes. They returned to Joseph, falling to the ground. "God has uncovered your servant's guilt," Judah said, not admitting to the theft, but accepting the punishment for their past sin against Joseph. "We are now my lord's slaves. Only the man who was found with the cup will remain," Joseph said. Judah stepped close. He pleaded for his father's life, which was bound up with the boy's life. "Please let your servant remain here as my lord's slave in place of the boy, and let the boy return with his brothers." Joseph could stand it no longer. "I am Joseph," he cried. "Is my father still living?" The brothers were terrified. "Do not be distressed," Joseph said, weeping. "God sent me ahead of you to preserve life, to save your lives by a great deliverance." He sent for his father. Jacob's spirit revived when he heard the news. "I will go and see him before I die." God spoke to Jacob in a vision. "Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there." 70 members of Jacob's family entered Egypt. Jacob reunited with Joseph, weeping on his neck. They settled in Goshen. Jacob lived 17 years in Egypt. Before he died, he blessed Joseph's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. He prophesied over his 12 sons, declaring that the scepter would not depart from Judah. Jacob died and was taken back to Canaan to be buried. Years later, Joseph lay dying. "God will surely come to your aid and take you up out of this land to the land he promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." Joseph died at 110. He was embalmed and placed in a coffin in Egypt. Part 11. The fire in the bush. Generations passed. A new king, who did not know about Joseph, came to power in Egypt. "The Israelites have become far too numerous for us," he said. He put slave masters over them. They built Pithom and Ramesses. But the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied. The Pharaoh ordered the Hebrew midwives to kill the baby boys. When that failed, he commanded, "Every Hebrew boy that is born you must throw into the Nile." A Levite woman had a baby boy. She hid him for 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she coated a papyrus basket with tar and pitch, placed the child in it, and put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile. Pharaoh's daughter found him. She named him Moses, saying, I drew him out of the water. Moses grew up in the palace, a prince of Egypt, but he knew his blood. One day, seeing an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. When the deed became known, Moses fled to Midian. He sat by a well, helped the daughters of ruler Jethro water their flock, and stayed. He married Zipporah and became a shepherd in the desert, far from the glory of Egypt. 40 years passed, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out. God heard their groaning and remembered his covenant. One day, Moses was tending the flock near Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. Moses, Moses, God called from within the bush. Here I am, do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Moses hid his face. I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt, so now go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people the Israelites out of Egypt. Who am I that I should go? Moses asked, I will be with you. Suppose I go, and they ask me, what is his name? Then what shall I tell them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites, I am has sent me to you. Moses raised doubts. He claimed he was slow of speech. God gave him Aaron, his brother, to speak for him. Moses took his staff and returned to Egypt. The confrontation was set. The might of the greatest empire on earth against an old shepherd and the living God. Slavery was about to end. The plagues were coming. The sea would split. The mountain would smoke. The story was far from over. It was just beginning.